Hey everybody, it's Jeff and Ron here with the Sense of Things. Thank y'all for being on today. We are super excited to get this week kicked off and or finished up and give you guys an update on what's going on in the markets, what's going on in the economy, and really just get everything kicked off. How about you, Ron? How you doing today?
Doing good. Middle of July, so I guess you could say it's basically middle of the summer. Pretty much everything the way things have gone, you and I have been talking about the last 4 to 6 weeks with the summer, pretty much happened. We got a nice summer rally, as we talked about last time, the end of June. Economic and headlines have been pushing the markets around a little bit. We reached new 52-week highs today. As expected, we've got to see how things pan out here towards the end of the summer.
Yeah, and it's interesting that stat that you talked about last week about July typically being one of the best months of the year, which I wouldn't have thought, but yeah, July is really kicking off to be really strong already. The big major players are still kicking it hard. I just was walking down to the kitchen to get some water right before this and noticed that I think Meta is up like 4% today. So,
well, it's more than doubled since the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is July is historically a very good month. September and October are historically bad months.
Yeah.
And I guess if you think about it, the ebb and flow of a good summer, a summer rally, and then the economic figures come in, people stop or slowing their spending. And then we have the confluence of events where all the credit tightening with the banks. We talked about it last time, the student loans, people are now going to be responsible to start paying those in September. Credit card balances are all-time high. All the key things that we've continued to talk about coming to a head here in the next 45 to 60 days. Yeah. But I do have something fun. I know we like to talk about some pop culture stuff.
Why don't we kick it off with that?
Yeah, I know it was a shame. Look, I know obviously it captivated the US and the world a little bit about the sub and going down to the Titanic and catastrophically imploded. I can't stand the far right or the far left. We just got to give the far left a little bit of credit for giving us some fodder today. And apparently they didn't like, this has been out there though, some people have probably seen this, but apparently they didn't like Subway's little fun way of getting people to smirk a little bit and bring some people in for some business. So I thought that this was a great little slide. I think you could see it now. Apparently people didn't like this sign.
I saw that earlier this week. I love it.
Think about it. How many people in the world did it affect? It's not like a ship with 4,000 people went down and it affected all their families and friends. We're talking about 5 or 6 people. It's a shame. It's catastrophic. It's terrible. But what's the matter, people? We can't have satire. We can't promote selling something. Come on, you got to give me a break. Is it in bad taste? No pun intended. Of course it is. To shame them? No.
Yes. No. And then I saw something about Disney the other day. There's a new supposed ride that they're thinking about at Disney that's a free fall into water. And Disney's also the company that owns the rights to Titanic, which I thought was just, okay, this is probably not the best idea to do as a ride, guys. But...
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Yeah, and look, they've done some things in poor taste over time. And if you take a look at Disney's stock,
oh my God.
And I know they had to bring Iger in, and it's amazing to me. You think about it. All the streaming services other than Netflix, for the most part, are not only are losing money,
they're losing subscribers like crazy.
Hemorrhaging money, including Disney. And I'm thinking about it. I understand you got to pay for content. You got to pay to create this content. But the distribution platform and the library that's available that people are utilizing, it's got to be cheaper than typical cable or the theaters. I just don't understand how many of them have not figured out to turn the corner. I realize they had to put out a lot of money to create content because content is king, but I don't understand how they just haven't figured out the break even or how to make money on it. Because what's going to happen is Disney, Netflix, maybe Paramount Plus are going to be the 3 winners, and they're going to end up eating up all the other streaming services for their content.
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
I
I
don't know what
mean,
else
but
could happen.
that's the reality of it is they all decided, okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll create a streaming service. And I think the thing that annoys the crap out of me is, okay, I still have Dish. So I pay $100 and some odd a month for Dish.
Right.
Yet there's content that, oh, this is only available on our streaming
Exclusive.
service. So I'm paying you for your main service and you're not delivering to me new content on that service because you want me to pay for an extra streaming service. And I think it's just starting to piss people off, quite frankly.
You know what? This is another problem when companies are public companies. Netflix pioneered this,
Yep.
right? Netflix, if you want to say it, Netflix perfected it.
Yep.
And you're paying a subscription. And one of the great things about the subscription is no advertisements.
Nope.
Reed Hastings has been pressured. Your stock's not going up. You're not generating the revenue. Their subscriptions. All they have to do is raise their subscriptions by 50 cents or $1. And the revenue to the top and bottom line increases is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now he's being forced and pressured to do advertisements. As a subscriber, I'm ticked off.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I have a subscription.
That's why I'm paying for
I
this.
don't have to have advertisements.
Yeah. And if I need to pay an extra $1 or $2, I'm okay with that. It's only $19 or whatever.
Supposedly they're going to charge, I don't know, don't hold me to this, $7, $8, $9 for a lower subscription with ads.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. So for double that, 15 or 16 bucks a month, I don't get any ads. What's going to happen? You see the trend. Within a year or two, they're going to be pressured to go to the upper subscription levels and start putting in ads either on select content or all the content. And then they've just completely prostituted themselves. I have no other way of saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, I'm okay, even if they put it like right at the beginning. It's just do not break up. If I'm watching something on a streaming service, do not break up my show in the middle with a boom, an ad. Okay, that's why I'm using your service. Otherwise, I would just use normal cable.
That's why I'm paying a subscription.
Yeah.
I'm not paying. If you want to, then they've got to separate it out. Here's your subscription with no ads, and here it is with ads. But look, Netflix has been the clear winner in all this. All the other services, it's only going to get worse because they have no other way to monetize it other than subscriptions because their content costs are just too high.
Yeah, and they're going up and going up. You get back in the day when it was, hey, we're creating content. We're basically using no-name actors to create really good content. And now you're getting some pretty major players. I think Kevin Costner, a great example of someone who has only done movies, and all of a sudden now he's doing a TV show for however long it's going to be, who knows. But yeah, he's basically doing a weekly TV show a few times a year, which, I mean, those guys don't come cheap. And then you pile on some of these shows, you pile on 10, 15, 20 of those type of actors, and it's just massively expensive.
Yeah, but what happens in those cases, the way those deals are done and struck, is they're going to take less than what they call their quote.
Yep.
Because they're going to get points on the show. So they get it on the back end if it's successful, and they end up making more money. That if it's successful, they're going to make more money on the back end. But they've got to do it in order to get the draw. So it makes sense. But look, I know people think we've probably been gloom and doom over the last 2 or 3 months. All we are is just reciting facts and showing charts. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a different slant this time and talk about unusual economic factors. And when I was drilling, I heard about this a couple of weeks ago. I knew we had to bring it. I did some research and I compiled a top list of these. And I thought it was interesting, not just for conversation and fodder, but what the top 2 or 3 are and some of the all-time economists that also follow it. So I'm going to share my screen. We'll go through it, have some fun. And I think it'll be fun for our audience too. So coming in at number 9, there's the garbage index.
Okay.
And listen, this has been one of my investing theses for a long time for clients. Water and garbage and water and garbage. There are key waste management companies and water companies. Everybody needs to consume water and everybody's going to create and throw out garbage. So the more garbage that's out there, that means what are we doing? We're consuming more,
Mhm.
right? So if the garbage is going down, we're consuming less. So
Mhm.
that's one, the garbage index.
I like this.
The RV index. When
Okay.
people want to have fun and they're gallivanting all around the United States, let's go get an RV. When RV sales go down,
Okay.
that means a recession is looming because they're not spending money on vacations, traveling. And I think we all know some of these RVs have a 50 or 100-gallon tank, and at $4.50 to $5.50 a gallon, that becomes an expensive proposition. So we got the
Well,
RV index.
interestingly enough, I've noticed commercials from Camping World lately where
Mm.
they're really stressing like, oh, it's not that expensive to have an RV. You can get one for $5, $10, or $20 a day as far as that. And it's interestingly enough, I hadn't really noticed that before. And Camping World traditionally has not done a lot of television advertising. Been doing a crap ton of it lately. So I'm not sure if it's because they see more of an opportunity, or if they're starting to see declining sales and they're trying to keep that whatever is the people that are still left that want to buy one, letting them know how affordable it is to have one.
Also, so you got to look at it this way. Years ago, I heard this during the housing crisis and everything like that, that for every new house that's built, it creates 3 jobs, right? There's a trickle effect there.
Sure.
RVs are very similar if you think about it. You
Okay.
got to outfit the RV. So
Yep.
if you go into a Camping World or a Cabela's or a Bass Pro Shop, right? What else are you buying for your RV? You got gas that's going to go in it. Then you're going to go to an RV camping ground.
Yep.
Because Walmart has a deal where if you have an RV, you could park there, no problem. But if you go to an RV camping ground, you need to rent the space. You're going to hook up electrical. You're going to hook up all the other good stuff. So there's a trickle effect there with the
Plus
RV.
the fact that you're going into a town, typically they, yes, you have a kitchen and everything else in your camper, but you still also you're there on vacation, so you want to go to restaurants and everything else.
You're spending money.
Yeah.
So here's the next one, the cardboard index, which I heard of years ago, right? When the cardboard sales, cardboard boxes go down, that means people aren't shipping enough, which is another reason why Amazon has bought paper companies and they're making their own cardboard boxes. When you see cardboard box sales go down, that's another one. How about the Big Mac index? Oh, by the way, there's also a Happy Meal index. When Big Mac sales and Happy Meal sales go down, that's a sign either we're in a recession or a recession is looming.
Okay.
Here's another one, the Lady Beauty Products Index, otherwise known as the Lipstick Index. When ladies stop spending money on themselves, right? That means they're sad. That means that a recession is looming or we're in a recession because they're not spending money on themselves.
So what you're
and
saying,
I think we all know, right? Because we love the ladies. They love to do maintenance, right?
Yes.
Beauty products is maintenance.
What you're
I have
saying
a
is we're
problem
not
with this.
putting lipstick. We're not putting lipstick on the pig of the market, is what you're saying.
Your words, not mine, my friend. You get the comment section on that one. But the other thing too is, so maybe they're not on an every 3 to 4 week mani-pedi. Maybe they're on a 4 to 6 week mani-pedi, but they're still getting the mani-pedi. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to eliminate it completely.
Just a little shaggy when they get there. That's it. So
your words, not mine. I gotcha. No cactus legs in my world, my friend.
Legs.
Buttered popcorn index. This is a newer one for me. When people buy less popcorn or don't purchase the butter to add to the popcorn at the movie theater, then that is a sign of a recession.
How in the hell they find this out is beyond me.
Well, think about the nerds and the geeks that are translating all this data. All right, so now we're getting into some of the fun ones. This is an old one. The champagne sales have dipped. A recession is looming. During a recession, champagne sales go down. Typically, when it ticks a little higher, you know that, hey, good times are coming. Good times are on the horizon.
Okay.
All right. The Hemline Index. I first heard of this 25 years ago, totally forgot about it. So you're going to love this. Of course, you're in Texas. I'm in Phoenix. Of course, we see this. When ladies' skirts go higher and are raised higher, those are sign of good times.
Okay.
When the hemlines go down towards the knees, that means a recession is looming or we're in worse times. I'm not sure if you've heard of this one.
I see the connection between lipstick, champagne sales, and hemlines. I could see them all together.
I just think we need to interview women on a weekly basis on these three things.
Yep.
Stay out of slapping distance, and I think we should do our own curating of the data
and invest the market. Yeah, invest the market from there. That's the way I'm looking at it.
So, what a segue! So, from ladies, we're going to move on to men.
The underwear
sales. When men's underwear sales dip, a recession is looming, or we are in a recession. So I need to speak to your wife because I know she likes to buy you those leopard print banana hammock underwear, especially when you come back from vacation. So I'm going to have to talk to her, because if she's not buying you this underwear on a regular basis, we know what's coming. But oh, by the way, the economist that is noted for tracking this index, Alan Greenspan, one of his favorite trackers of unusual economic indexes as far as economic trends towards a recession.
Is these type of things, or is he the
men's underwear sales?
He's the underwear man.
Yes,
and the underwear man. Okay, I like this. Wow.
So I don't know which ones are your favorite or which ones you've never heard of, but I think these are interesting. By the way, when I was doing some more research, because what prompted me on this, I heard about 1 in 3. And I said, oh, you know what? This would be a great conversation. So I started doing some research out there. I found tons of articles, top 5, top 8, top 20, top 10, unusual, and all these were commonplace across all those articles. Many of them went back 5, 10, 20 years.
Hilarious.
So obviously, there's somebody that's tracking all this. Now, I know that in podcasts past, you have the LEI, the leading economic indicator. I think we need to have a UEI index of unusual economic indicators of all these consolidated and see where it goes. So hopefully there's some geek out there that's listening to this that has access to the data and could come up with the Ron, Jeff, sense of things UEI index.
The unusual economic index. I'm thinking we need to come up with this, bud. We could make millions on it.
Let's hire a bunch of interns because we don't have the time, money, or resources to do that.
To figure this out. But I love it because it could be our thing. We do the unusual economic index and see where things are going. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. I think that, I'm not necessarily convinced on the men's underwear sales part because men just don't ever buy underwear. Seriously.
That's why they track the women buying it. But all of these 9, you can get real data on this. Number 2, where's the data on hemline? Somebody's going around with a tape measure to ladies and say, excuse me, if you don't mind, I need to measure the bottom of your skirt to the top of your knee. How are they figuring that out? Or are they just taking creepy pictures of people and figuring, I don't know how they're figuring this out.
Trying to infer this throughout time.
But obviously these indicators have not been around for years, for decades. They've been following this stuff. I just find it interesting. And when Alan Greenspan has been attached to men underwear sales for over 30 years. As far as I know, the data goes back of one of his favorite indexes. And look, he was there 20 years as the Fed director. So
and somehow that makes him even creepier than I thought of him originally at this point. So
come on, he doesn't look creepy with those big glasses. Stop it.
Big glasses. That's how he sees men's underwear, is with the glasses. I'm just trying to.
All right. I gotcha. All right. How do you want to wrap this thing up?
Let's wrap it up with a little economics. A few interesting things that have happened over the last week. One, last Friday, we had our unemployment or the employment report. And it was a massive miss. It was off by 40,000 jobs. And interestingly enough, it was a little bit of the service industry, which was the good part. And a lot of the other stuff where the big miss happened in some of the higher paying jobs. So that's something we need to keep an eye on. That is showing signs of, the both the capital markets and access to credit. I think that's affecting businesses. And I think it's the interest rates. We're starting to see that filter down into the businesses. So something to keep an eye on there. I think the other two things that happened this week, one yesterday, one today, we had core CPI yesterday. We went from a 4% year-over-year inflation rate to a 3% year-over-year inflation rate in a month. And some of the things that the wind came out of, a little bit in the energy field, a little bit in even housing costs, down a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see here in Texas. I think today we will pass a law that is going to massively reduce our homeowners tax, or our taxes.
Real estate taxes.
Yeah, on real estate taxes. They went from a $40,000 a year, $40,000 a year homestead exemption to, if this passes, $100,000 homestead exemption, which is going to be huge. Now it's going to affect housing costs for us, for people that own homes. It is not. The interesting thing about homeowners here in Texas is the homestead exemption does not affect people that own rental homes. So what's been happening with people that own rental homes is we have a homestead exemption that says they can't raise our taxes more than 10% in a year. Yeah. It doesn't happen with people that own rental properties. And the thing that was coming out of our legislature, some of the Democratic side, was, well, we need to figure out a way to reduce taxes, or we need to figure out a way to reduce like rental costs or whatever. And we can't if you're going to keep letting our real estate prices go up 30% and the taxes go up 30% for the people that own rental property. They're just going to pass that on to the people that are renters. And it's just not going to be good from that perspective. And I think we're still going to have some challenges from there.
Right. So it has to be a primary residence.
Yeah, it has to be your primary homestead, which, like I said, for a lot of us, the homestead side, it's going to be almost a 30% drop in our real estate taxes. So it's huge. It's going to be the largest ever in history in the United States, but it isn't going to affect the rental market. And we've had a huge rental market. A lot of people have come in here into the rental property market in Texas over the last 4 to 5 years. So it's, I think, going to be an interesting thing, because I still see inflation from a real estate perspective, at least here in Texas, is going to continue to go up.
Yeah. I see it here in Phoenix. I see it in Philadelphia. It's actually very divergent. I think I talked about this before. The top 6 most populated cities, right? Yeah. You got, in order, you got New York, New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Philadelphia. In the last 4 years, 3 to 4 years, I think it's 4 years now, only one city had population growth. Everybody else had a contraction. Yeah. Phoenix was the only one that had population growth, which is another reason why in most areas in the Phoenix metro area, including Scottsdale and whatever, prices have gone up 25 to 40% or more. And if it's a hot property, it's going over list. And it's going to continue. Although the nice thing about where I am here in the Phoenix area, real estate taxes are still incredibly reasonable. Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't change too much, which is another reason why people are migrating here, because especially if they're empty nesters, they don't want to pay for the school system, right? They don't have kids at home. They're not going to the local schools. So why should I pay the higher taxes? So that's why a lot of people on the East Coast, especially Jersey and California, 2 of the highest real estate taxes in the country. A lot of people move out of Jersey when they become empty nesters. Yeah. I know my taxes for the house that I'm in now, my taxes in New Jersey, I kid you not, would be almost 8 times as much. Wow. Almost 8 times as much for a similar sized house. What am I paying for? If that's where you want to live, you're going to pay for it. And I'm using Jersey as an example. There are New York, Connecticut, between their sales tax and their state income tax. Yeah. The migration out of Southern Connecticut, Manhattan, the boroughs, they're trying to get a resurgence, but When you're at a certain stage of life, why are you paying for something that you don't get the benefit of?
And you get the winners and you get all that. It's just, I think people are moving towards places where it's okay, we want you to come here. We want you to buy homes here. We want you to live, have a good quality of life. And I think for us in Texas, for people in Florida, for people in Arizona, we get to enjoy the outdoors more than a lot of these folks that are up on the East Coast. And I love, don't get me wrong, I love the East Coast. Boston's one of my favorite towns on the planet for 6 months out of the year. And then the other 6 months out of the year are absolute hell.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of that right now. I think we're going to hit 115 to 118 this weekend. Somebody said 120. Does it really matter? 115, 120?
Yeah, I love it. The East Coast is just getting pummeled with water, and we're all getting just blasted with heat.
I got to tell you, I really am trying to get up earlier in the morning. I'm talking 4:35 because outside here it's 90 degrees, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, well, because you get that desert cool, which is, I mean,
it's wonderful. In the afternoon, you're a rotisserie chicken outside, but the mornings are fantastic. So we'll see how it goes.
That's the one thing I will say is I don't have to shovel heat ever, that's a good thing. And we have air conditioning. I'm completely convinced that most of the Southwest, when the people that came across in like the spring or the fall. If they'd come in the winter or come in the summer, they would have been just like, I'm going straight to California at this point.
So quick, funny stories. I just moved. The movers, they had a couple of young kids, a couple of older guys, and something fell out of one of the boxes and I picked it up and I looked at, hey, you know what this is? I'll never need to use this again. One guy that was originally from the north, I think he was from Washington, I can't remember, but he at least had gone through some winters. And one of the kids like, I don't know what that's for. I said, oh, it's for the car. It's a brush and an ice scraper. He goes, for what? I'm like, for the winter when you get ice on your car and you got to scrape the windshield. Really?
For why? Why would you do that?
Looking at me like I'm a space alien. Like, why would you have this? And I'm like, and the other guy is laughing his rear end off. He's like, yeah, he's never experienced a winter.
He doesn't have a clue.
No idea what the hell an ice scraper is for.
Unless you go up to Flagstaff or something, that's probably the only time you're ever going to need it.
Yeah, exactly. So what can I tell you?
Cool, man. I think it's a good week, folks. We do these for you. So love to hear your comments. Please share the show with others, and we're going to keep doing fun stuff like this. And Ron and I are going to get to work on the unusual economic index and see if we can monetize that with the world.
You could work on the hemline. I may work on some of the other ones. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll do that. Actually, I'd like to. I think I'll take the champagne index as well. That one's right up my alley. So.
Not a problem. All right, you'll take 2. I take 7. That's good.
I love it. All right, man. Well, thank you guys, and we'll see you back here the very next time.